What up, YouTube Live? How's it going, everybody? Wow. Just finished watching True Detective Season 3, Episode 7. Tonight's all new episode. I can't believe one episode left, and then that's it. That's the end of Season 3. Wow. Time flies. It feels like it was just yesterday. We just had the premiere episode of Season 3. Okay, just real quick before we get right to it, and there's a lot to dissect here. There's a lot to pretty much analyze and break down. Just like with all my episode recap and my TV reviews, this too contains spoilers. So, again, heads up, spoiler alert. You've been warned. This this review, is mainly for those of you, my fellow True Detective fans, who have also seen tonight's new episode. By the way, the title of this episode 7 is The Final Country. All right. Real quick, also, some of you pointed out in my last week's review of episode 6 that the man who shouted at Amelia at that book signing place, you guys said that that's not the same man who was at the trailer that Wayne Hayes and Roland West confronted back in the 80s. Um, and I suspected that it was one and the same person, but you pointed out that that's not the same guy, and I stand corrected. So thank you so much for pointing that out. By the way, he also gets brought up in this episode. I think the name associated with him, the guy in the book signing event, is Watts. I believe that's the name, right? Watts. But we don't get to see him in this episode. This episode is mostly regarding what happened in the second time period in the 1990, and ultimately what caused Roland and Wayne Hayes to go their separate ways again, because they went their separate ways after the 80s investigation of the same case, by the way. So now we see in this episode what happened in 1990. And excuse me, last week we saw, by the end of the episode, Thomas Purcell, played by Scoot McNairy. He discovered, I think, Julie, or either her name is Julie, but we didn't get to see what exactly he saw, but he said his last words were Julie, and then behind him there was Harrison James. Harris James is this guy. He used to be the highway patrol, but ended up working chief security officer for this big company that apparently is owned by the Hoyts, and the Hoyts is like the big billionaire in town. And guess who plays Edward Hoyt? I looked it up, and turns out is uh um Michael Rourke. Not Mickey Rourke. Michael. I'm having a brain fart tonight. I don't know why. Um, Michael Rooker, the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on, guys. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. And he's also Daryl Dixon's brother in The Walking Dead. So I've met Michael Rooker, by the way. I interviewed him for what movie was it? I think it was the Belko Experiment. There you go, the Belko Experiment. He was in that movie, produced by James Gunn. Um, Fantastic actor. Now his face is not seen or visible in this episode, but his voice is heard as Hoyt right nearing the final credit of tonight's episode. But before we get to that, I'm going to give you a context, okay? For those of you who may have not watched tonight's episode, but if you're curious enough about the spoilers, Tom Purcell gets the episode tonight opens with Tom Purcell dead. All right, and it's apparent suicide. Apparent suicide. There's a note saying, "I'm sorry. I can't wait to meet my wife and son again." in the afterlife, whatever. But right from that get go, you can tell that that is a manufactured suicide. Like, come on. I'm not trying to belittle Tom Purcell, but the note is like typed. Like somebody, like he actually, what? Tom Purcell would sit down on a typewriter and type that note. Tom Purcell would just simply write it. Um, which goes to show if somebody went out of their way to type, with a typewriter, that note, means that he doesn't want his handwriting to be traced back to him, because you can trace handwriting back to somebody. Um, so from that, it doesn't take a genius, it doesn't take a detective. You don't have to be a PI to figure out that that's staged. That whole suicide. And my thing is that I'm shocked that they murdered him. I thought, when Harris James comes, from behind him, I thought at the very least that they were gonna rough him up, right? I don't know, rough him up for the whole night and maybe make him disappear like Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa never gets found. People say it's the mafia that did him out, and they did a good job of keeping his body, I don't know, gone for all these years. Um, w- the suicide thing, I don't know why they had to stage it when they could just like di- get his body to disappear. What I'm trying to say is that why would they not pick that option over, staging suicide? I don't get it. I guess I'll never get it. Uh, um, but yeah, that's one thing that I'm really shocked about, or surprised at the very least, about Tom Purcell's death in this one. Um, and that leads to a chain of event. You can sense also in this episode a rift happening between the partners, Wayne Hayes and Roland West. And we never see it go this bad. In previous episodes, they had arguments, differences of opinions, disagreements, but it never went this bad. In this episode, it goes really bad, like they're on each other's throats. Um, Even before ultimately, um, what happens to Harris James. It's as if Roland West is giving up, like not like in a quitter kind of way. Maybe he's just frustrated, like, dude, we reopened this investigation. This is the second time we're investigating this same case, and last time they pinned it on Woodard, this guy who's pretty much mentally disturbed from the war, and now they pin it on my friend Tom Purcell. So it hits home for Roland. So I can understand that why he's so frustrated. Maybe like, you know what, fuck it. Like, why do we even do this? Every time we try to revisit the case, or if we reopen the investigation again 5 years from now, we're gonna hit the wall again. Like, why do we even try? I think that's my guess is that's where he's coming from. Um, Whereas obviously Wayne Hayes is frustrated in a different way. He's frustrated that freaking they're pinning the murder on Tom Purcell, and he's frustrated. Like, come, we gotta do this right by Tom. That's why he keeps saying that to freaking Roland, when Roland's like drinking himself to, I don't know, to oblivion, and he meets them. Wayne Hayes meets Roland in Roland's house, and it's like, we got to do this right by Tom. We got to do this right by Tom. We got to do this right by Tom. And so 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 Wayne Hayes' frustration propels him even further. Um, Now, Let's keep on this track before we get to the other arc. It This leads them to well, Wayne Hayes does his own investigating, and he finds discrepancy, I guess, maybe not discrepancy but patterns with regards to Harrison James, and and Lucy Purcell, and then they go to hunt down Harrison James out in the woods. Now, let's pause that. This is Arkansas, right? Arkansas is in the deep south, and two cops pulling a guy over on a very dark, beaten down, lonely path highway. Now, I've been to the South many times, right? I've driven through Tennessee, Mississippi, North Carolina, Georgia. I haven't been to Arkansas yet. And one time I got pulled over by the cops. I think it's in Georgia. I believe it was in Georgia. And it was like 8 p.m. at night. Boy, believe me, I was scared shitless. I was scared for my life. Because I'm a brown. I'm not black, but I'm brown still, and I was an immigrant at the time. I don't think I had my green card. I only had my work visa, and even though I was legal, but I'm still scared. Because freaking the South, man, you never know what the cops would be like. You might get the bad apples one, and so it really scared me shitless. It scared me, and I just gave him the rental car because I rental car papers. And after 5 minutes, he checked my ID, and then he let me go. The point of that story is I can totally relate to Harris James on that level. Um, in that, man, you do not want to get pulled over by the cops in the South at night after the sun goes down in the middle of the woods, highway woods like that. Because that's where I was. I was like that similar road. Man, some scary, freaky shit, man. That takes me back when I see that on in this episode. It takes me right back to that memory. So, but back to the story at hand. They interrogate Harris James in this godforsaken barn. Apparently, they find a barn out in the boonies, and so it's not good cop, bad cop anymore. It's pretty much bad cop, bad cop. Um, because by this point, freaking, because Roland is pissed that his friend supposedly killed himself, Tom Purcell, and Wayne Hayes is pissed again that they keep hitting the wall, but now they find this clue that leads to Harrison James, and so in this interrogation, it's not even an interrogation. Basically, it's it's basic. It's Wayne Hayes and Roland West both playing Jack Bauer. You know Jack Bauer, right? The Kiefer Sutherland's character from the series 24. So Roland West beats up Harris James, and then Wayne Hayes does the verbal abuse. Now I don't have love for Harris James. All right, I'm not defending him here, but I think what the writer creator Nick Pizzolatto is trying to point out in this scene is that roughing people up like this isn't always an effective strategy, because like what you see tonight, Harris James tricks the cops and then tries to fight back. He doesn't really give them information that really helps them. He never does. The pain is he's just like, oh, my ribs, my ribs. That's all he can talk about, or that's his ammo or his go-to trick. Point is that torture doesn't work. Now, torture doesn't work because the criminal would say anything to stop the pain. Um, Now, there's a couple of ways that Wayne Hayes and Roland West could have done to get information out of Harris James. I'm a little disappointed that they, seasoned detectives that they are, veteran detectives, that they did not apply. Um, they did not apply this method. Like, for example, I'm not a detective. I'm just basing this off of crime novels I've read. Um, they could have researched Harris James. You know, if Harris James has loved ones, or Harris James has a bank account in Cayman Island, whatever. Right? I'm just spitballing scenarios. They could say something along the lines, "Hey, so we find out here that your daughter is trying to apply to Princeton University. You know, I'm very close to to the head dean over there. One phone call, and they will deny your daughter's acceptance." Or you can say, "Hey, I see you have money that you've been evading IRS for. You know, we're gonna freeze all your assets. We're gonna freeze all your accounts until you tell me or tell us what's up." That could be one way. Another way could be positive reinforcement. Scenario wise, if I'm just spitballing again, if Harris James has a wife and she's an immigrant, because I'm an immigrant, so I can kind of understand the story or the standpoint. And positive reinforcement will be like, "Hey, it seems that your wife doesn't have a status. You know, we can get you her status. We can help with the citizenship. You know, and we can situate you guys. We can put you under eyewitness protection program. You know, so you play carrot and stick, um, not carrot and fist." So they could have employed or applied those methods, but they were just so clouded with their anger and frustration. This is probably the lowest point of Wayne Hayes and Roland West. And now we see exactly why they pretty much haven't talked to each other in 25 years. Because remember, it's 1990, and then the third time period is 2015. Um, and it's understandably so. Although in 2015, when we see old man Wayne Hayes and Roland West, obviously water under the bridge, right? Water under the bridge, and like, "Hey, we're cool, man." Roland West says that because freaking Wayne is like apologizing to him, like, "I'm so sorry about that night." It's like, hey, it's all cool, bro. I guess time does heal all wounds. Um, but in the 1990, the second period, man, Edward Hoyt finds out, man, you don't mess with the Hoyts. They got ears everywhere. So that's the by the end of this episode, um, Wayne Hayes enters Hoyt's limousine, or I guess a small car, not limousine, fancy car that is. And then yeah, can't wait to see the confrontation next week. Now, a couple of more things on my notes here before I end this review. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I knew it, right? It's when it comes to Nick Pizzolatto, the creator writer of True Detective, it's always something bigger than just one person or one perpetrator or one criminal. It's always conspiratorial. It's like uh, uh, a cover up. By the way, the word cover up is mentioned in this episode. And guess what? Nick connects this season 3 with season 1. They're in the same universe. It's awesome. Um, the pictures of both Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey's characters are shown, and they're mentioned in tonight's episode um, by the interviewer, the reporter that interviews Wayne Hayes. She said these cops found a predatorial pedophile ring back then, you know, and we suspect that this could be something similar. I did have that. I'm not saying I'm a, I'm just I had a sense that it was gonna go the same route. Um, my question is that does this mean that Nick is running out of ideas that he has to kind of rehash, or oh let's do another cover up, let's do another pedo ring, let's do another. So you start to wonder, part of me kind of starts to wonder like, okay, I know that when he tried something different in season 2, it did not resonate with people. So maybe his thinking is that, well, I tried mixing things up, you know, with season 2, but it didn't land. I got mocked for it. Maybe I should just go back to the formula in season 1. You know, if so maybe that's his thinking, I don't know. Am I disappointed that he might go the similar route? Not really. Not really. I mean, if he does it again for season 4, then probably I'll be like, yeah, yeah. Uh, let's It's like beating a dead horse. Like we've gone down this route again, Nick. I mean, we've gone down this route before, Nick. Is this all you've got? Really? This is all you can offer us? So maybe by then I will feel, you know, I will feel like I've had it enough. But right now, I'm really curious to see how this plays out in the final episode next week, um, and how they're gonna bust this whole cover up wide open. But I think what is appealing about conspiratorial cover up stuff like this, I think what is appealing about it uh, is that how it it's somewhat similar to what happens in real life. I'm talking about people like, not necessarily Brian Singer, but people like Jeff Epstein. You know Jeff Epstein, the billionaire guy who is well connected, and he has a lot of powerful people in his circles and friends. And he actually did a pedo party ring, and now all these teens who are now grown-ups are suing him, or trying to get him to face justice. It's in that similar fashion, in that what I'm trying to say is that the plot, as ridiculous as it might sound to some people, like, oh my god, the mayor is in on it, no, the cops are in on it, whoa, 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 the Hoyts, they pretty much own the town, they the factory, they're big people, like, they can't, no, that can't be. Well, that actually happens in real life. So it's not too far-fetched, my friends. Unfortunately, when people are so powerful and so influential, and has so much money that he can probably burn $100 bill, that person feels so invincible that he feels like he can victimize anybody of any age, and he feels like he can get away with it. um, and he can make people, anybody, journalists, cops, he can make them go silent, buy him off, or just make him disappear, what have you. And he would even try to reach out to people like him in the elite part of the elite, and have secret parties, and then he would help them if they get in trouble, but they would hang this over their heads. It's not a far-fetched scenario. It sounds like something for a true crime novel, but it's not something that is impossible to happen in real life. Epstein is just like one example. So I can understand the appeal of this kind of storyline. Why Nick sees this as something that's this is gonna get people hooked, because it does happen in real life. So I just want to say something before I end this, that it does feel very reckless and irresponsible. Let me repeat that: reckless and irresponsible for Amelia Hayes, Wayne's wife, um, to be taking her kids to that bar so he can question that one person who happens to know uh, the guy. I think the one-eyed guy or whatever. So she's questioning him, and it frightens her that she couldn't see her kids inside the car anymore. She runs out, and only to find out that her kids are sleeping. So their heads like way down, on the seat, in the back seat. That's dangerous, man. You can't do that, man. And no matter how obsessed you are with your investigation or whatever that you're doing, you can't sacrifice vulnerable people like that. So I know I sound judging, but yes, I'm judging her right now. Take it or leave it, but I am judging. That really rubs me the wrong way. I have little niece, 3 years old, and I would not be able to forgive myself if I ever did that to her. Um, and lastly, she brings up In Cold Blood. That's awesome. Now, In Cold Blood is this. Well, before before it was a classic movie, it was a book by the late great Truman Capote about this actual murders that happened, and it has been highly regarded as one of the most influential uh, crime books, I guess you call it, of all time. And it's even at the heart of that movie Capote that gave Philip Seymour Hoffman his Oscar win. So my point is that in this episode, it's revealed the motivation for Amelia's obsession, like like why you know that she badly wants to be a writer, but and even more than that, she knows that if the subject of her writing is something to something in the same vein or something in the same spirit as In Cold Blood, because this murder is unsolved and very mysterious, and the Purcell, Wills Purcell, the brother of Julie's, after all these years, right? It's so intriguing. It captures the minds of everybody. So she knows that this is her way, her ticket to that big authorship. Um, I'm not saying that she does it just for that. I'm sure to some degree that she actually even cares, for the Purcells, and she actually genuinely cares about, you know, maybe helping Wayne to solve this case by asking people left and right. But deep down, her ambitions also, like, this could be my In Cold Blood. All right, this could be my In Cold Blood. This is it. This is my Truman Capote. um, and I don't blame her that. I don't blame her for that. That's ambition, every human nature, right? But now we see it. Now we see it in tonight's episode. It's funny how when she brings it up, Wayne Hayes says something along the line like, because she says to Wayne like, "Have you heard of In Cold Blood?" And Wayne says like, "Oh, was that the Batman?" He's pretty much jokingly referring like he thinks that it's a comic books. You know, I don't know if he genuinely knows In Cold Blood or if he ever reads them. So that's an interesting facet in my opinion. That's it. Those are the things I have on my notes. Overall, it's a great episode. I'm gonna miss this show. I mean, I'm not this show. I'm gonna miss this season because there's only 8 episodes. Next week is the finale one. I'm gonna miss it. I think I love the partnership of Wayne Hayes and Roland West. I like the performances of Stephen Dorff and Mahershala Ali in these respective characters. I like how the way they play off of each other, even in their arguments. Uh, they're really in sync. You can sense the chemistry is pretty strong and solid between these two excellent actors. So um, I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that. One more episode, and then we say goodbye to season three. Um, so, what do you guys think? If you've seen tonight's episode, let me know. I mean, are you as intrigued as I am? Is there certain things about the actions of Wayne Hayes and Roland West, specifically to Harrison James, that you have opinions about? Are you as angry as I am at Amelia for what she did to her own kids? Um, are you looking forward to the revelation of Hoyt in next week's episode? How do you think next week's episode or the final episode of season three? How do you think it's gonna tie it all up in a bow? Um, Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. And please subscribe to my channel, press that like button, and ring that bell so you can get notified whenever I post new videos. And as always, subscribe to if you can help support my channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Thanks for tuning in. Let's rock this.